Right. So, the answer to that question, yes, silver got trounced. However, I think it is a buying opportunity for those who might not have been in the first move. And I think that we're still going to probably $300 to $500 silver this year, and probably much of that occurring by summer. As crazy as that sounds, it is not crazy. There's many examples of other markets doing similar type repricing to a new reality type events. Silver has all kinds of arguments for it, both technical and fundamental, that favor that sort of rapid readjustment. So our assessments.
シルバーファミリーの皆さんこんにちは。海外貴金属投資家の間で貴金属相場の予測的中度が高くレジェンド扱いされているマイケル・オリバー氏が最新のインタビューで今後銀価格は今年の夏までに$300から$500に到達する可能性があると語っているので、なぜこれほど急騰するのか根拠の一部などを紹介していきますね。当チャンネルでは去年11月にマイケル氏の予測を紹介しましたが、予測をした時点では銀価格は上昇していたとはいえ、まだ$50前後で、$100までは遠い道のりに見えましたが、マイケル氏はその時点で、銀のブレイクアウトは今にも起きそうであり、半年以内には$100、$200に到達する可能性もあり得ると予測を述べていました。予測から2ヶ月も経たずに、銀は$120まで急上昇しています。現在は下落して$70後半から$80をうろついてますが、$50前後の時点で約2倍の$100到達予測は的中したと言っていいでしょう。過去の的中歴は他にもあるのですが、前回の動画で紹介しているのでそちらを見ていただくとして、今回は今年の夏までに$300から$500という大胆に見える予測を立てています。現在が$77前後なので予測通りになれば4倍から6倍以上上昇することになりますが、むしろこのまま暴落する可能性はないのでしょうか。なぜ急騰すると考えているのでしょうか。次のように述べています。
Pull back here. What are your thoughts? Is this a buying opportunity?
Yeah, I think so. All of our work from various vantage points, not just momentum structural analysis, but relative performance analysis of silver versus gold, gold versus the S&P. In other words, what's the macro trend of the monetary metals? Okay, thumbs up across the board. Gold miners, gold, silver. Okay. Then within that asset category, silver is outperforming gold. Oh, yes, it got shin kicked in 1.5 days. That's how long that drop lasted, but 1.5 days. Now we spiked that out last week on, I think on Friday or so, we spiked out that low, but it quickly came back up. But most of the drop was literally within hours. Okay. Now people thought that's it, it's over, done. You know, you don't have that kind of drop without a top. Our work says no, you did not break anything except sentiment. Long-term momentum trend factors are not even near points of structural breakage. Whereas in the past, when we made tops, 2011, for example, or the low in 2015, there was ample structure on momentum where you could look at a momentum chart and say, oh boy, you break that line, you're going down. Oh boy, break that line, you're going up. We don't have any structure nearby. And whenever you do not have clear bridge over the River Kwai type structure to blow up, to break down through, you probably aren't at a top. Almost all tops, I'd say 95% of them have clear momentum structures that when broken, then you later find out price joins in. Anyway, so the answer to that question, yes, silver got trounced. However, I think it is a buying opportunity for those who might not have been in the first move. And I think that we're still going to probably $300 to $500 silver this year, and probably much of that occurring by summer. As crazy as that sounds, it is not crazy. There's many examples of other markets doing similar type repricing to a new reality type events. Silver has all kinds of arguments for it, both technical and fundamental, that favor that sort of rapid readjustment. So our assessment says, yes, full thumbs up.
So once again, your new target on silver is $300 to $500
I
by sometime in the summer.
cannot be any more precise, unfortunately. Look at the price relationship of silver to gold, for example. It's ridiculously low historically. In fact, last year it was down 1% of the price of gold. Divide an ounce of silver into an ounce of gold. 1%. Okay. If you go back and look at the bull market surge that peaked in 1980, in fact, for a period of time there, not just a spike, it was at 6.5% of the price of gold. Okay. Then in the 2011 bull market, 2010 to 11, the latter part of that bull market, silver was over 3% the price of gold. So last year it was 1%. What do you think? It's going to free? Okay. So it's popped up over 2 recently, breaking out over a massive, clear technical structure on the relative performance chart, meaning an ounce of silver divided into an ounce of gold plotted each month. And you had a very clear ceiling, and it broke through that. So that's yet more evidence that silver is waking up even relative to gold. And yes, we had a sharper pullback than gold just recently, but it's still outperforming gold when you go back a year, 6 months, etc. So we favor silver over gold, and we think this is a buying opportunity.
And I'm sorry, your $300 to $500 target, that's quite a wide range, but that's based on a percentage?
Lots of things. First off, let's look at gold, the mama. It's had 2 big bull markets since, well, it got legalized in 75, and it was already at 200, and then it dropped down to near 100 by 76. Okay. From the 76 low to the 1980 high, it had an 8-fold gain. In other words, if you bought gold at the low, you made 8 times your money by 1980. Then it dropped and plateaued at a much higher level than it had been before. And in 2001, it made lows around $260. And it had an 8-fold gain to get to its 2011 peak. Different span of time, 10 years as opposed to about 3, but same dimension move, 8-fold. Okay. We made a bear low at 1,050 in 2015. We're now only 5-fold above that level. And yet everybody says gold's overbought. Heck, it hasn't even matched the performance it provided in the prior 2 bull markets under far less monstrous fundamental factors in play. So even if it just matched the multiple gain of those 2 bull markets, would be $8,500. And by the way, we've been saying that for a year, not as a target, but just as a get back to what we've done before type thing. JP Morgan has now come out just recently and come up with the same number. Isn't that cute? Anyway, but if gold went to the 8,500, okay, let's just say, okay, let's say that's all it does, match the prior bull markets. And silver went to 3%. I mean, that's where it was in 2011. Okay. Whoa. What's that, $240, $250, something like that. Okay. I don't have my calculator. If silver went to the levels it was relative to gold in 1979, 1980, it'd be 6-fold above that level. Now here's another, and that projects up toward the 500 level. 2 other factors to look at. One is just simply monetary degradation. Look at an M2 chart. Go back to 1980 or 2011. See where the M2 was then. See where it is now. What's the gain? If silver were to match that gain, it'd be in the several $100s just to be where it was in real buying terms in 1980 or 2011.
マイケル氏は独自の予測方法を自身の有料レポートでまとめているため、予測方法をすべてさらけ出しているわけではありませんが、予測の一つとして金銀比価を解析していると語っています。これは1970年代から現在までの金銀比価のチャートですね。金銀比価とは金1オンスを買うために銀が何オンス必要か。貴金属投資において、金と銀のどちらが相対的に割安であるかを判断するための尺度としてよく使われます。歴史的には15対1程度でしたが、 現在では80を超えることもざらで、2020年からは100対1を超えるような場面もあったほど、銀が割安状態でした。こう言うと、技術革新で銀がたくさん取れるようになったのでは、と感じる人もいるかもしれませんが、金と銀の採掘比率、世界の在庫比率は約8対1で推移しています。そして、金は掘り出されたものは基本的に半永久的に在庫として積み上がっていきますが、銀は産業需要で使われた分はほんの一部のリサイクル分を除き、消費されます。つい先日もシルバーインスチチュートの発表がありましたが、銀は6年連続で供給不足の見込みです。銀がたくさん取れるわけでもなく、消費が減るどころか、今後消費は増え続けるのに、金銀比価は歴史上最も高い比率を維持しているってわけですね。先日銀が120ドルまで急上昇した際は、一時的に45ツイーチまで金銀比価が下がっていますが、それでも過去銀が暴騰した1980年は15対1、2011年は30対1です。もしゴールドが5000ドルで金銀比価が1980年と同じ水準の15対1なら銀価格は333ドルという計算になります。2011年の金銀比価である30対1なら166ドルです。現在動画作成時点だと銀価格は75ドルをうろうろしてますが、そこから2倍から4倍になるという計算です。金属が2倍になることなんてあるのか、と思うかもしれませんが、私が当チャンネルを開設した当初は銀は32ドル前後でした。2倍以上の上昇はすでに達成しているということですね。そしてこの333ドルなどの数字はあくまでもゴールドが5000ドルのままだったらの話です。マイケル・オリバー氏なども述べていますが、そもそもゴールド自体もまだ安値であり、少なくとも8500ドルに到達するだろうと予測しています。最近では大手銀行も後を追うかのように、金価格に強気な予想を出していますね。先ほどちらっと出しましたが、JP モルガンも8500ドルの可能性があると発表しています。それはともかく、ゴールドが8500ドルに到達した場合、1980年と同等である15対1なら、銀は約567ドルに達し、2011年水準である30対1でも約283ドルです。マイケル・オリバー氏の予測する銀価格300ドルから500ドルにかなり近い数字が見えてきました。ちなみに先日の金銀下落予測も的中させたデリッド・ハンター氏も、以前から金銀比価が低下することで、銀が金の上昇を追い抜くと予測しています。しかし逆に銀がこのまま暴落していく可能性はないのでしょうか。過去銀は一度暴騰した後、急激に暴落しています。現在市場が75ドル前後で横ばいが続き、様子を見ているのも、過去の急騰から急落が再現されないか、これを恐れているというのもあると思います。そしてマイケル氏は、過去のような急落が起こる可能性は低いと述べています。
Our assessment months ago, silver going into the hundreds. It's probably going to do it within a couple quarters. This correction occurred when? At the end of the second month of the surge. Surge defined by when silver broke out versus gold on a spread basis. That was the close of November. Okay, January, February. And then it has this correction. Earlier than we expected. We thought we might get one about midway into that 6-month period. But we still think by summer you'll likely be at very high levels.
Now, one of the reasons why I've always had a larger weighting toward gold is because it's a lot more stable. You know, to see gold move 10% in either direction is very rare.
Yeah.
Whereas silver, I mean, we saw it rip it was up 70% in the first few weeks of this
Yeah.
year, and then it dropped 30% in one day.
Yeah.
And to me, that's kind of concerning.
Yeah.
Are you not concerned by that kind of volatility?
Well, yeah, sure. But it's from an investment grade point of view. And I'm even talking investment grade like 6 months, okay? Silver is the place to be by every metric we can measure against gold. And it will likely outperform gold as it has. In fact, if you go back a year, it was 1%. Now it's 2%. That means gold in relative value to gold over a year. So while gold's gone up over the last year since early 25 to the present, silver's more than doubled despite the pullback than what gold has done. Yes, with more volatility here, but again, the key issue for investors is what was your point of entry? If your point of entry was finally, oh gosh, I believe it now, I'm going to buy it at 120. Okay, well, you got bagged, and maybe you should have been. Our buy levels were last June coming up toward 35, and at the close of November in the 50s. Those were our last two major buy signal levels. So yeah, we gave back some profits, but on the other hand, nothing alters our assessment. We shall see.
Now, I want to play devil's advocate, and
Okay.
as I mentioned, silver dropped 30% in one day, and the last time we saw a move like this was in 1980,
Yeah.
and on March
In the range, yeah.
on March the 27th of 1980, it dropped 63% in one day, and then
Wow.
in the ensuing months, we saw a lot of chop back and forth,
Yeah.
but long story short, it lost 70% of its value. You don't see that happening now?
No, I don't. If this were 6 months into the move, and if silver had reached $400 or $500 or something like that, I think you would have a sharp correction from there, but not back to $50. The old reality's gone. The question now is, where is silver going to define the extreme upper end of the new reality? And I think it's going to do it very rapidly, meaning in a handful of months, not 3 years. And I think once it does, it'll probably overshoot and probably collapse from there. If you got in at $400 or 500, the issue is, did you get in at proper time? And I think happens to be right now. Nothing has broken other than public sentiment. And I argue that the drop you saw then in 1980, for example, yes, that was top of the old range. Silver just gone from like what, $5 to 50, and it had a four-fold move in the last 5 months of that explosion. I'm talking 2 quarters roughly. In 2010 and 11, it was a 7-month explosion, which doubled in half the price of silver in 7 months. Both of those surge events, still caught in that old range though, were triggered by the spread breakout of silver versus gold, where you could plot the relative performance chart and you could draw a line with a crayon and say, if you get above that line, you're breaking out over a multi-year base. And when it did, it had a tantrum. We did the same thing, except even a bigger and clearer base, silver relative to gold, at the close of November. So it's only 2 months and 2 weeks now into a likely couple quarter surge.
他にも多くのこと語っているので、本編動画も見ていただきたいですが、簡単に言えばすでに銀は新しい現実に入りつつあり、過去の現実、つまり$50などまで下落することはないだろうとしてます。この新しい現実というのは市場が現実に即した価格を見つけている段階ということです。例えば NVIDIA は2020年までは、ただのゲームのパーツや、という古い現実でしたが、チャット GPT などが登場し、AI 社会のインフラ企業という新しい現実へ認識が変わったことで、株価は約260倍に跳ね上がっています。そして新しい現実に移行してから、以前の株価に戻っていません。では銀はどうなのか、ですが、ソーラーパネルや AI のデータセンターの接点に必ず必要であり、中国や米国が重要鉱物に指定し、国内に銀を確保するような動きに出ています。まさに新しい現実に移行しようとしている最中ですが、X など見ればわかりますが、多くの人は、銀なんて金より大量にあるから価値がない、金銀を買っているのは靴磨きの少年だ、このような意見がほとんどです。誰も銀が6年も供給不足なのも知りませんし、データセンターに銀の接点が必須で、代替品がないことも知りません。とはいえ古い現実から新しい現実に移行する際は、このような批判はつきものです。有名な調査会社シトロンリサーチは NVIDIA が上昇する前、NVIDIA のコアビジネスはビデオゲームであり、NVIDIA をカジノ銘柄と呼び、激しく批判するレポートを発表していました。レポートを発表した時株価は$2.5前後でしたが、現在は$183前後です。約72倍に上昇しています。では、銀が、たかが工業用パーツから人類の未来を支える枯渇資源 に変わったとき、マイケル・オリバー氏の500ドルという予測ですら、むしろ控えめすら思えてきます。といった感じで今後も金や銀に関する情報や価格予測を発信していきます。チャンネル登録、いいね、よろしくお願いしますね。